Just waiting for Facebook load here. Hello, everyone. We are ready for another day of a workshop, learning more about not necessarily oils today. That's been a pretty heavy topic in the other workshop classes, but today we are focusing on love, loving yourself and your relationships because it's Love Week. It's Valentine's Week. Exciting. Yay. Is it on Friday or Saturday? I don't even know what day it's on. Because I honestly think that we should express love to one another every single day, and we shouldn't have a special holiday for it. But to go in with the theme, this is what I'm talking about this week. If you want to catch previous workshops, you can go to my YouTube channel or you can go to my website at livingfreeandnatural.com, and under courses, you will see the classes and workshops that I've done so far. So today's topic is loving you and your relationships, and I kind of just want to share the journey that I have been on these last couple of years, maybe 4 years, of really understanding myself more, kind of just going through my timeline of what's been happening and the breakthroughs that I've had and how I've discovered that loving myself has then allowed me to nurture my relationships in a more effective and loving way. So I will go through kind of, the backstory, my timeline, my journey, so you can kind of see where I'm at and the experiences. And then I'm going to give you some tools and resources at the end that I've personally used. So whether they may work for you or not, I'm not sure, but at least I can share what I've done, and you can decide for yourself if that's something that you want to explore. So real quick, not that we're getting into specifics with health-related stuff, but there are emotions tied to this. And so I just want to give the normal background of I am not a doctor. I am a holistic health coach. I empower people to allow their bodies to heal themselves. And I do believe this in an emotional and spiritual aspect as well, and not just physical healing. I'm a mom that uses natural solutions as a prevention and the first approach to healing the body. And again, a lot of what I'm sharing is from experience-based learning and the research that I've done. And I also value the knowledge and experience of medical professionals. And this includes those in the psychology field, therapy, that type of stuff. If you are dealing with any sort of depressive, anxiety, issues that you have not consulted medical help with, even if it's just a therapist, I highly recommend doing that. I wouldn't want to advise anything and there's a different route that you should have gone on. So there are situations where medicine is important and effective within mental health. And so I don't discourage that whatsoever. So if you are kind of experiencing those emotions, definitely seek a therapist or psychiatrist, or go to your doctor and kind of start from there. So I just kind of want to give that disclaimer real quick. But we are going to start with, where was I? And I feel like it's been a long journey. I don't necessarily know what year did I really notice the darkness creeping in. I would say this last year of 2019 was definitely a growth year for me. Understanding myself more, being more graceful to myself, loving myself, and then forgiving some of the things that I've done, whether it was recent or way in the past, and letting go of the mistakes and looking into the future of what can I become. So that was a lot of 2019 for me. And the years before that, it was, I had my daughter in 2015. I had my son in 2018. I was going through some health issues, relationship conflicts, understanding communication, which is not, a strength for me. And yeah, just kind of where was I? So I was outsourced to the max. If you want to think of we all start with energy levels in our certain areas of life. And this is where the fuel is. And maybe I have more fuel for certain things and less fuel for others. But I was outsourced to the max. I felt like I was in 500 million directions. I was saying yes to everything. My energy was drained. I didn't have a lot for my family, my husband, myself. I always came last. And especially with kids, it was really hard to navigate putting myself first when my kid's crying and it's like, well, I haven't showered for 2 days. I haven't eaten breakfast or lunch and now it's dinner time and I'm wondering why I have a headache or I feel like crap or I'm then binging on this not so healthy foods and it was really hard to understand where to draw that boundary, especially with kids. Um, but the things that took up my time and attention were my kids, my husband, my work. And one thing I want to say with work is I have doTERRA. This is where I am really focusing my time and attention in. I really feel called to where I am right now with doTERRA and what I'm passionate about. But I'm also a figure skating coach. I coach figure skating part-time. I'm at the rink Monday through Sunday, or not Sunday, Monday through Saturday. And granted, it's only an hour to 2 hours at a time, but that's still a chunk of time that is eaten up with my coaching responsibilities. I'm also administrative assistant at Free Grace Bible College. I went through that college a few years ago. I was a volunteer for a couple of years, and then I was blessed with having a position there. So that's about 15 hours a week that I am invested into the ministry of what the Bible College has for our church and our community and our outreach. And then I also am an auditor for a charitable gambling organization. So I take the charitable gambling stuff, I audit it, and I'm blessed that I get to do that from home. But again, it's another thing that eats up my time and my energy and my resources. So that's kind of what encompasses work. And then my friends got my time and attention, and then my networks. I'm in a networking group for DoTERRA, and just having to nurture those relationships and those responsibilities, and that started 2 years ago. So as you can see, a lot of my things were outsourced in all of these directions. um, and when I was looking at where where my energy was and where my focus was, I thought that what needed to come what needed to change right away was I need to come first. I need to be right here. I need to be nurtured. I need to take care of myself above all else. And while this is somewhat true of are you taking care of yourself, I realized that the missing key factor was my relationship with God. I I believe in God 100%. Um, but the relationship part was missing. I wasn't going to him and having conversations. In those days where things were great, I wasn't grateful. I didn't express gratitude. I went to him when things were desperate and I was kind of at the last measure. Like, I spent all this time trying to do this myself, my way, my control. That didn't work. Okay, God, I guess we can figure out if what you have to offer and what you can do is better. Um, so once I realized that the relationship part was missing, I wasn't engaging with him on a day-to-day basis, things started to become more clear on what exactly needed to change. And so I just want to go through the first thing that I focused on. My window is like, I don't know if you can see the line, so I'm gonna whatever, I'll deal with it. So the first thing that I knew I had to focus on was my foundation for faith. This was 100% crucial because if I can have that strong foundation, if God can be my backbone, if he can be my strength and my source, then everything else should be able to fall into place. And not that there isn't going to be conflicts or hurt or pain, I at least have the foundation that I can stand on. And so, um, one of the things I asked myself is how am I supposed to love myself and others if my foundation is cracked? And this foundation was that relationship with God. So I found a few verses that I really liked, kind of tying into this love topic. Is we love because he first loved us, and that is from 1 John 4:19, and then from John 4:9 through 12. This is how God showed his love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world that we might live through him. This is love. Not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as an atoning sacrifice for our sins. Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us and his love is made complete in us. And I really like this because if if I'm setting that foundation in my faith, if I'm getting reconnected with him, I'm reestablishing that relationship, he is going to overflow me with the love and the passion to then nurture others and nurture my relationships and nurture my kids. If I'm like, God, I need strength today, my patience is zero. And I don't want to snap at my kids, or I don't want to snap at my husband, or I want to be more productive than I scrolled through Facebook all day today, that I can go to him and the love and sacrifices that he put in place for us so we could live this fulfilling life here on earth. Just, it made my heart feel full. And I knew that my priorities then needed to get in order. As I'm reconnecting and nourishing this relationship with him, I was like, my priorities are way out of whack. So I had to redefine them before I could move forward. But one quick question I want you guys to ask yourself is, where are you in faith? Do you believe in God? And if you do, are you nurturing that relationship with him? And you guys, it doesn't have to be these like powerful prayers, like just talk to him like he's your best friend. Okay. You don't have to get super formal. It can be informal. That's what I love about this. Just have a conversation with him. And if you don't, would you like to have one? Maybe you believe in God, but you don't have a relationship. Or maybe you're in a place where you're not really sure who God is, or you're not sure about a relationship. I want you to ask yourself if you want one. There's never any pressure. But if it is something that you are thinking of or want to explore, I'm definitely a resource that you can reach out to. I can try to help you find a home church if you want to go to one. But I invite you to say a simple prayer to repent your sins and ask Jesus to be your Lord and Savior, and that you will follow and obey him and welcome him into your life, and just see everything else flourish because of that foundation that you have of your belief in him. So yeah. So if you did that, that's awesome. And again, I'd love to be somebody that can support you on your faith journey if that is something that you're seeking. So let me know. Okay, so I figured out my foundation of faith has to be there. I figured that out. So the next thing that I then focused on was caring for myself. So this was the me box that I had to figure out. And this is where I was at the time in these categories. So sleep, nutrition, movement, and quiet time. So first off, what is sleep? I had my son in 2018 and I basically never slept since. I am sleepy now, but for about a year, he co-slept with me. And you guys, I am not about co-sleeping. I don't bash those that co-sleep. Girl, you do you, families, whatever works. I was more fearful that I was going to roll over and crush my child. My husband is 6'2", 200 and some pounds. Like, I did not feel comfortable with those circumstances. But Caden had other plans. He did not want to sleep at all. Like, at all. I would literally be on the couch with him in my arms and both of us sleeping because he would not sleep alone. And so it reached a point of sleep deprivation. He's not getting sleep. We're both crazy. I ended up co-sleeping for a year. I didn't like it. I never slept anyways because I was always nervous. Caden at least slept. But on average, I got about 4 hours of sleep a night, and I nursed him for the whole year. And so I literally was like an open bar of milk. He would just come on over and like roll over from waking up, and sorry, something popped up on my computer. And yeah, it was just a constant need of attention that he had on me. Oh, Anna, that's awesome. Good for you. I love that. So yeah, that's where I was at with sleep. Nutrition. I am dairy-free and gluten-free. This is for health reasons. I have endometriosis, and so I avoid dairy from the hormone aspect. Gluten, sometimes I might end up eating it, but for the most part, because of the inflammation and the endometriosis, it just doesn't mesh well together. So after having Caden, I stuck with the dairy-free and gluten-free, but caffeine and coffee and sugar, those were, it was out of control, you guys. Coffee, I was drinking 5 cups a day. And granted, this was made at home coffee. It wasn't like I was going to Caribou or Starbucks and getting shots of espresso thrown into it. But I would drink 5 cups of coffee a day. I was like strung out, super anxious, but I had to have the caffeine. I had to function. I had to be a mom. I had to get the work done. And then sugar was more of an emotional thing. I would reach to the sugar in foods, and whether it was natural, like fruits and things like that, or chocolate, like cookies and things, I just shoved that in my mouth. Whenever I felt emotional or uncomfortable, I turned to food to deal with these emotions. And so that was another place that I wasn't turning to God for. I would go to food, and that it just wasn't okay. And so that's not to say that I still don't enjoy a treat here and there, but I'm very more conscious of, am I enjoying this because I want to enjoy this cookie, or am I turning to this food because I'm uncomfortable and my emotions are out of control and I'm using this to distract myself rather than addressing the issue head on? So that was that part. Movement. Does chasing kids count? Because I chased my daughter around all the time, and then as soon as my son walked at 10 months, you guys, like, I was not prepared for that. I was running all over the house, but I never had intentional movement for myself. It wasn't like I'm moving to feel good. I am moving to nourish my body and have strong bones and be flexible, so when I'm older, my hips don't break, and like all those things. I had no desire to move my body. I didn't even want to go on walks. I just felt comfortable sitting on my butt on the couch and just not moving. And again, that was another coping mechanism of, I just don't feel good, so I'm just going to eat and turn on the TV and brush all that aside. Now, my body type, I don't have weight issues. I'm built very small, like my bone structure and everything. And so I don't deal with that, but I still deal internally with a very unhealthy body. I still have inflammation. I still have achy joints. And this is a side tangent. Like, sometimes being smaller are viewed as like you're lucky, and oh, like you should be so grateful that you can eat whatever you want and not gain weight. And that is not it, you guys. I still go through my own things with weight and trying to navigate that field of how do I feel in my body, and do I feel strong and healthy? So not necessarily an image thing, but just a health aspect. Like, are my organs functioning? Am I healthy? So movement wasn't happening. And then quiet time. If you consider my car ride to Elk River for 20 minutes being quiet time, that's what I got. Otherwise, kids were in the car, always surrounded by kids or other people. I didn't sleep alone. I didn't have time to read books. And part of this is my fault because I could shut the door and lock it. But when you are home, like, my husband's at work all day, so when I'm home, I can't just lock the door, and I have my 3-year-old out there and my son. So I would have the door open, and they would just come in while I'm going to the bathroom and sit on my lap, or I'm taking a bath, because I didn't want to, again, shut the door and lock it and not have them have access to me, and couldn't even take a bath by myself. So for a very long time, I didn't have that time for me to remove myself and have that, it's not isolation, I'm blanking on the word, but solitude, having that solitude time to myself. So with that, realizing where I am, I needed to figure out where I needed to go. And so boundaries became a big thing. That was my word for 2019, was boundaries. I took a look at where I was at in my life and needing to say, okay, what are my priorities that I need to have? And what am I saying yes and no to, if that makes sense? So with this being a major focus in 2019, you guys, I am seeing now, this month, last month, growth happening. I wouldn't say I'm harvesting anything yet, but I planted the seeds in 2019, and now I'm able to see growth in these areas, which is so cool. But But so on the PowerPoint that I have, I show that my priorities were kids were first, then it was my work, then it was my spouse, then it was zone out. And the reason why I had zone out is because this is where I turned to things that didn't require me to think and I could just sit there and be lazy. So this was social media. So Facebook, Instagram, TV, like Netflix, my Thursday night Shondaland shows. I mean, I still watch the TV now, but it's not a priority. Food was in there because it distracted me, and wine. I would drink a glass of wine every night. And even though I wasn't reaching an intoxicating amount where I wasn't able to make decisions, it was the fact that I was turning to the wine to distract me, to help with my emotions of feeling stressed and anxious versus turning to God and using natural resources to feel better. So, and then the last thing was church. I would still go to church on the weekends and be engaged and all that stuff, but it still wasn't a major priority for me. And yeah, that is where I was at. So I had to figure out, okay, this is what my priorities were. What do I want them to be now? And my priorities now that I've put into place are God comes first, then my spouse, then my kids, then the church, and then my work. And you might be wondering, like, okay, I thought you were going to be talking about like loving yourself. Why aren't you on the list? And that is because the focus on me is when I focus on my priorities. If my priorities are set in place, I have that foundation set, I have the focus, and I'm kind of intertwined in between the things of I'm always being focused on, but I know where I am at with the other areas of my life. So the reason why God always comes first is because he is my rock. If I'm disconnected to him, if I am disconnected to him, the rest is going to fall out of place. And so that is why he will always be there first, before my marriage, before my kids, before everything, because he will give me the strength and the tools and the empowerment to nurture all these other areas of my life. So the other one is spouse is second. And sometimes people are like, oh, my kids come first. And I get that. I was there. But here's the thing, your kids are going to move out one day. They're going to turn 18, they're going to go off to college, or they're going to go do whatever they're going to do, and they're going to move out and they're going to start their own lives, and it is now you and your spouse. And if you have spent 18 years putting your kids first and you and your spouse become strangers and you're disconnected, what is that relationship? I didn't have kids to sacrifice my marriage. I had kids to bring them into this world and to nurture them and love them, because I knew that that is something that I wanted to do for myself and with my husband. And so we created this family, but we were here first together in this relationship. And so if you don't nurture that before your children, you are going to have conflicts that happen. So just something I would consider looking at if you have that going on in your life. Then kids come next, and some people I've been asked, like, why are the kids before church? Like, isn't that your faith and your belief? Well, that's God. God is up here. The church is the body of Christ, and that doesn't necessarily have to be on the weekends or, engaging in that setup, but it's making sure that my kids aren't feeling like they are being under priority of those things. And so I want to make sure that they have a thriving relationship with me and their dad, that they see us leading by example in our faith, and that they view us church as a connection that they can have with the community and not this place that they're being forced to go to. And right now it's different because they're so young. My daughter's only 4. So she sees it as this fun, like, I get to go be with kids and play. And my son's 1, so like he doesn't really know what's happening. But as they get older, I want them to understand the purpose behind church. But they come first. And then my work is underneath all of that. And I have to pay my bills, but at the end of the day, my job can be replaced. God can't, my husband can't, my kids can't, and the body of Christ can't. Like, all of that is foundational, and my work can change. God could say, hey, I don't want you to do this anymore. And I'd be like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go over here. I love where I'm at with doTERRA, but if I knew that he was calling me in a different place, I would go. And same with the other stuff. Like, I feel that's all things like, yeah, money is there, but it's materialistic, and I'm going to go where I'm being told to go. So that's why that's further down on the list. I enjoy it. I focus on it, but again, it's not a huge priority in comparison to what other things I need to focus on. Okay, so the tools and resources that I have laid out that I have used in this last year, in the last couple of years, you know, you guys, this has been baby steps. It hasn't been like, okay, I did everything at once and everything changed. Now things are great. This has been years in progress of understanding where I was at with things. Some things took a few months. Some things have taken a couple of years. So again, just baby steps, figure out where your priorities are, where you're at even in your life, and start from there. So the first resource is my Bible. This is the one that I use. Jesus-centered Bible. I got this on Amazon. I actually do have it linked up in my shop. I have the NLT version, and I just like that there's like descriptions written in here, and like when Jesus talks, the words are colored and things like that. So this is my number one resource. If you have so many questions about anything in life, relationships, love, marriage, finances, work, leadership, everything you can find in here. So that is my number one recommended resource, is your Bible. Mentors. So I have a few key people in my life that I go to. I turn to them for biblical truth and guidance and support when times are tough. And so I have that circle of influence around me of people that are further along in their faith, that have more wisdom than I do, that I can go to them and say, hey, things are jacked up right now, or I have questions. And you guys, it's not that many people. It's like 2. And they're not even related to me, but it's 2 people that I can go to and just say, hey, like, let's talk. Another resource that I have is my church. So I go to Free Grace United in Elk River. We have locations spread out throughout the Twin Cities and north of Elk River and like St. Cloud and Malacca. We even have a church service in the Malacca prison. It's so cool, the outreach that we have going on. But that is where I go to with my local church, to be in a community, to be plugged in with other people, where we worship and pray together, and we have that strong bond. And we're all on the same mission. We are here to help people cross the line of faith and follow Jesus. And so I think that's really cool to kind of have that community there for you. The other resource that I used, and this was just in this last year, is I started going to therapy. I started seeing a therapist. I was like, hey, like, things are kind of crazy in my head right now. I need somebody who is unbiased, doesn't know my situation, hasn't been in relationship with me, or they're not my parents, because your parents love you and they're going to want the best for you. But I needed to go to somebody that I could just get it all out, talk through things, and kind of like have my mind and emotions sorted out into categories and not be overwhelmed. And so that was extremely helpful. This is the only time I'm going to talk about oils in today's workshop, you guys, but I turn to these in tough times, in emotional, or I needed to know I was over here and I needed to go there. So the first thing is I would go to Jesus first, have that conversation, have that relationship. But rather than turning to TV and distractions and wine or food, let's say I was feeling angry, like my husband and I got into a fight, or I'm feeling stressed out with the kids, I would grab an oil or blend that I knew would support me with my emotions. And so one of those is Forgive. Like, I would love using Forgive, of just like, I need to calm down. I need to separate myself from the situation. And I would just inhale the oil. I would massage it on my neck, comb it through your hair. Hair is always a great traveling diffuser, you guys. So I just used the resources that I had, and I'm so thankful for them. They've given me this great outlet of just not having to turn to things that aren't good for you and lead you down a worse path. Oils aren't going to do that. And then the other thing I want to talk about is the Beautiful Life Lab. And so we have a leader in doTERRA. She is a double diamond. Her name is Ange Peters. She's amazing. She is the founder of the Whole Fit brand. And just, I've met her once, like 4 years ago. I got a picture with her. I was all like girl fanning at convention. And But just following her journey and seeing her, show up on social media and the work that she has done has been incredible. But I've kind of turned to her as like a mentor that I look at of how she's leading her life and kind of not following the steps, but taking her advice and slowly implementing things. But one of the things that she created was the Beautiful Life Lab. And it was basically implementing habits daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly, and getting yourself into the space of how do you want your life to be? Where do you see yourself going? And how can we structure that? What habits can we start doing and implementing? So Google Calendar became my best friend. I have my life scheduled on there. Everything's color coded. I know where I need to be, what I'm doing, who's picking up the kids. Like, I can visually see my life. And she said, leave white space. Don't overschedule yourself. Don't have it so you're here to here, because things come up in life, things can be unexpected, and that's where the overwhelm can happen. So I was very intentional about this white space and not saying yes to everything. So I started learning to say no. Because when you say yes to something, you're also saying no to something else. And so I always look at my priority list and go, okay, if I'm saying yes to this, is it negatively impacting these priorities, or is this going to move me in a good direction of where I'm looking to go with my life and my family? Meal prepping, this is very helpful, especially when, if you're stressed out or your schedule is crazier for a couple of days, you want to be prepared nutritionally to have those things in place. Sorry about that, guys. Have those things in place so you're not grabbing the junk food. So meal prep was a thing. Planning your week and previewing it. So I sit down once a week. I look at, okay, what do I have going on? Where do I need to be? What are the things that I need to do? What do I need to prep for this? Am I scheduling time? So am I being connected with God, having that relationship and investment? Am I spending time with my spouse and my kids and being intentional? So I plan out the week, I preview it the night before, so I know what's happening the next day. And then at the end of the week, I review it. How did the week go? Did things go very well? Do I need to implement this system again? Did things not go well? So what needs to change from that? What will I stop doing? So being clear will allow you to nurture what needs to grow, and it will allow you to weed out what no longer serves you. So if you're interested in that, she's got an incredible course, you guys. I think it's like $100 or something. It's Beautiful Life Lab. Go to wholefit.com and you can find it there. But she is incredible, you guys. Okay, so the last thing that we are going to talk about. Oh, thanks, Anna. Yes, she has created. She has a Beautiful Life worksheet. I think that's a free tool that you can access, and it's just great to plan out your day and plan out your week and know where you're going. Not just, I mean, it's somewhat DoTERRA focused with our business activities and things like that, but it's also life planning, which I think is really cool. She's offered a lot in her community. Okay, so nurturing your relationships. Now that I've gone through everything, I've talked about kind of where my journey is, what tools and resources that I used. So how does all this help you nurture your relationship? Once you've discovered your priorities, you've set the boundaries to protect those priorities, you will see where you have the space to love on others. So our priorities aren't going to look the same. We might be in different stages of your life. Maybe you don't have a spouse. Maybe you don't have kids. But I'm clear on where things need to be, and I hope that you're able to do the same. So my church, my community, they're all important to me to stay in relationship with, to walk alongside in faith with. So I'm always making sure that I'm connected. I have my core group of women friends from church that we're in a group me chat. We're there supporting each other. If something comes up and we need prayer, we just send a quick message, saying, hey, this is what I need, ladies. Or we have a book club. I haven't been able to do it in the last few months, but we meet once a month and do this book club, and we get together, and it's so great to have that time and investment in one another. My friends, you didn't see them on my priority list, but that doesn't mean that they're not important. I set boundaries to protect my family, but I have the space to schedule things when my friends come into town, or I want to get together with them, or we want to have conversations, things like that. I have one really close friend. We've been friends for well over a decade, and we really get each other. And Texting is kind of our communication. We'll have phone calls that can be 10 minutes or an hour and a half long. But it's just cool to have that person that I can just send a text to and be like, she didn't respond 5 hours later, but we know that we have different priorities in our life, and we're able to still nurture that friendship via that communication. And then we find times that work together for us, and we'll go out and we'll meet for coffee, or we get together and have, we've gone to like baseball games and stuff. And so, yeah, we're very intentional about that. So with my friends, I share with them what I expect and what they expect in return, and it's really cool. The last thing that I want to talk about, though, in this nurturing relationship aspect is your enemies. Why is that on here, right? If there are enemies, why do we want to be friends with them? And the reason why I wanted to address this category is because we can get caught up in drama. We can get caught up in gossip. I'm guilty of it, you guys. It's still a work in progress for me. Sometimes there's moments where you just need to vent and you need to get it all out there. And then you're like, oh, that kind of sounded gossipy and drama, and probably shouldn't have done that. And so I would say go to God with your frustrations and gossip to him and just be like, this is how I'm feeling. I want my heart to change. I want to go in this direction. We're not perfect, so I wouldn't say that there's going to be a day where you no longer feel this way about a certain person, but it's a needle that we can move in the right direction of, do we have less of that? So my advice to you, if you have someone toxic in your life, let them go. They're not serving you. Maybe they're a family member and you can't really get rid of them, but you don't have to have them in your circle of influence. They can be in your circle of concern. Like you still care about them, but you're not going to go to them with everything that's going on in your life. And they're kind of just a relationship that you nurture in the way that makes sense. But if somebody's toxic, you can't have them in that circle. Don't have them influencing you. And then sometimes we have a relationship that at one point meant something, but it's no longer fruitful. And I've had relationships like that where it was very hard and traumatizing for me to understand, like, why did this relationship end? One was just very abrupt, and like, what happened? And I'm understanding that, like, God puts people in your life for a purpose and for a season. And sometimes that season's a lifetime. Sometimes that season is it's just a season. They got you through from this point to that point. And I would just appreciate the relationship. Thank them, whether it's like you actually go and thank them or inside in your heart, and then move on. It's really hard to hang on to those things. Maybe there's somebody in your life that you're angry with, and you need to let go of those feelings because they don't know that you're angry. They don't know that you're upset and that you're sitting here complaining and feeling this tension. They might think nothing's wrong. And so if you're having those feelings, you need to release them because it's only hurting yourself. It's only creating toxicity in your heart. And so it's only going to affect you. So let it go. Bring on the frozen, let it go. So the last verse that I have for you guys in regards to this enemy discussion is from Luke 6:27-31. But to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. If someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from them. Give to everyone who asks you, and if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you. So I just think that's another aspect in relationships that we need to recognize and understand, is when we have those people in our life, let them go. You can still love them and respect them, type of thing. So that's what I have, you guys, on this whole loving you and your relationships. So I do want to go into the doTERRA aspect. So if you think that you're at a space where you would love to have the tool and resource while you're navigating this space to support your emotions, like I said, anger and sadness and grief, maybe you want to feel joy and compassion, doTERRA is a great company that has products that can help you in that area. So if that is something that you're interested in, you can go to my website, livingfreeandnatural.com, go under shop where you can get doTERRA at 25% off, and the instructions are on there on how to get started. If that is something that you choose you want to do, you will be plugged into the Live Happy community. This is co-founded by my friend Emily and I. We created this space where we're connecting people to wellness and advocating for a better future. We live life joyously and deliver hope to others. And so our hope to you guys as you join this community is that we can continue to invest in you, walk alongside you on this health journey, whether that's a physical health journey, emotional, or even spiritual. I would love to walk alongside you guys as you discover your faith. And then the last thing is our business mentorship. So maybe you're already plugged into our community and you have been seeing what Emily and I are doing, and that is something that is interesting to you, something you want to explore. We have a great mentorship program within our community. And maybe you aren't in doTERRA, but you would like to join something where community is a key factor and something that we focus on. There are 3 things that I recommend doing. You have to love the product, use your products daily. Like, don't just go all day without touching an oil. Like, as soon as you wake up, start using the products. Share with your family and friends. Those are the ones that you care about and you want to see their lives change. And then create a community. And this community can be in person, it can be in your neighborhood, it can be in your city, or you can create an online space. Reach out to those through social media channels and create that community that you want to see happen. Within our business mentorship, we have class and business toolkits. We have incentives for new community members, weekly coaching calls, monthly team webinars and business support emails, and then online and local marketing strategies. So I hope that this was good information for you guys. And yeah, like I said, this wasn't heavy on oils. I could have gone in and talked about all the oils for the bedroom or your emotions, but I felt like this was a more crucial topic of where are your priorities, where's your faith and foundation, what are you saying yes and no to, and how can you move the needle in the right direction? And you guys, it is progress. It's not perfection. We are slowly moving the needle to the way that we want to see life happen for us. And yeah, so that's what I got. Next week, let me see where my book is. Next week's topics, just to give you guys a heads up, is we're going to be talking about family wellness. So we'll be diving more into doTERRA and the oils and products that you can use for that. And then on the 19th, hashtag mom life. I'm going to get into some conversation about being a mom and how to navigate that. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining me live if you hopped on and if you're catching the replay. And if you miss all of this on Instagram, you can hop over to my YouTube channel or my website, and all of this, the workshop notes and the PowerPoint, oh my gosh, will all be available for you guys. So take care and have a wonderful day.